Okay, so I'm back here with the Squier Telecaster that I showed you a couple of days ago, and the owner has decided that for now I should only do the electronics that were loose. So I resoldered those, and he's just decided that he would pick it up on Monday because right now he doesn't have the money to get a complete setup. So I've just resoldered the electronics, and I'm just going to clean up the fretboard here because, as you can see, there's a lot of dirt and grime here from old playing and sweat and all kinds of nasty stuff. So I'm just going to clean that up for him because when he gets here on Monday, he's going to bring a new set of strings, and I'm just going to string it up for him and just give it a quick setup so that the intonation and the string height is correct, so that he can actually play it. I don't like to hand over a guitar that isn't really playable, so I'm just going to do that, and then later on he can pay me for the remaining work that I'm probably going to do on this guitar. At least it needs a fret level, so we'll get there at some point when he's ready for that, and that's just fine. I bet there should be no problem playing it right now. We'll have to see when I string it up, but yeah. So right now I'm just going to focus on cleaning up the fretboard, and a good way of cleaning up a rosewood fretboard like this, and especially when it has accumulated a lot of dirt and grime, I like to take a sharp razor blade here and just gently scraping back and forth in between the frets, getting some of that accumulated dirt and grime out. And I've just found that instead of going nuts with a cloth and some cleaning compound or anything like that, which is going to take a very long time, I just found that using this razor blade on the fretboard here is a lot easier, and it actually does a quite good job, especially if you treat the fretboard afterwards with some lemon oil or anything similar to that. And of course, when you're scraping, you're not forcing the blade here a lot into the fretboard. You're kind of just letting it ride gently with you pushing it back and forward, so you don't need a lot of pressure. And of course, when you do it this way, you expose a lot of the wood underneath, not meaning that you're taking off a whole bunch, but you're removing some material, and some new material is popping up, and that material of course needs to be treated. So be sure to give it some lemon oil or some kind of oil afterwards, because it's just going to treat the wood better and make it stand out and stand for any kind of changes, depending on where you store your guitars. So basically, I'm just going to take you over here, and as you can see here, I will just try and take you in a little closer so you can see what's going on. Alright, so up here we actually have some dirt, and I'm just going to start by scraping away a little bit. Hopefully you can see this. And you can see we have quite a lot of dust coming off here, but that just shows you the progress. And as for the next one here, just moving it over and just doing the same thing, and you can easily see where you're getting to. So I'm just going to do the next here again and just place it gently and just scrape back and forth gently. So I'm just going to continue doing that on the remaining frets, and I'll bring you back here, guys, so you can see what it looks like afterwards. And yeah, we'll just put on some oil on the fretboard, and you can kind of already see the contrast here. This is a lot darker because it's accumulated a lot of the sweat and dirt, and this is the more lighter color because we scraped a lot of the dirt away. But don't worry, we're going to get a nice dark color back on it when we oil it, so no worries there. Yeah, but I'll continue, guys, and I'll bring you back when it's time to oil the fretboard, so stay tuned. Okay, so I'm back here with the Squier Telecaster, and yesterday I just scraped the fretboard clean, basically just removing all the dirt and basically finger sweat and whatnot left on the fretboard, and I guess you've basically all noticed it because it's it will accumulate very easily and often if you do not clean your fretboards. So as I explained, the owner will pick this guitar up on Monday, and the only thing that I've done to this guitar is resoldering the input jack because it was somehow cut loose or something like that. So I just resoldered that, and I did that free of charge because he's been good to me and brought me a lot of work. So I just offered to do that free of charge, and instead he just had me to do a little rundown on his guitar here, basically just making a little scheme of what this guitar will require of work to be done in order to make it play great, or at least better than it does as of right now. As I said, this guitar right here is made in Indonesia, crafted in Indonesia, and overall this should be a fairly good Squier Telecaster, and at least it should be with a proper setup. As always, a proper setup is the very key to a great playing instrument. So yeah, I've just cleaned the fretboard, and right now the fretboard is just a little light, at least lighter than it was before. So as I told you, I just took a razor blade and I just gently scraped the fretboard, and right now it's time to oil the fretboard to protect it and just make it nice looking again. And as this is rosewood fingerboard or fretboard, I'll be using some Dunlop 65 lemon oil that I have down here. And it just looks like this. And this stuff just goes a long way, really, and yeah, it's very good. So I'm just going to get my cloth. I have this cloth here that just written lemon oil on it, so I know that this cloth is to be used on the fretboards with lemon oil. So I'm basically just going to just shake the bottle a little bit and then just remove the cap. And from there I'm basically just going to use the applicator here on the bottle and just go along the frets. And I might do the first 5 frets and then make sure that I rub it all into the fretboard and then continue, and then just let the rest soak in and remove the excess afterwards. So basically just like that, and I'll just make sure that I get it all over the fretboard here, so that I make sure that everything has been touched with the lemon oil, making sure that every possible part of the fretboard has been oiled. And this is basically, of course I do this on all the guitars that I work on, and I clean the fretboard as well, but basically you should remember to clean and oil your fretboards 2 times a year, or something around that area. So that could be a task or something you do while changing your strings too. Of course not all the time, but often you'll be able to see if the fretboard actually needs oil. So that should be fairly easy to determine. It's just when you go to clean the fretboard anyway, or change the strings or whatever, you might as well just do the job while you're at it. Just makes it a lot easier, and you can tell yourself that you have actually done it. So right now this fretboard looks really nice. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but to me here it's a lot darker than it was before. So as I said, I'm just going to let this lemon oil just sit a little bit. I've wiped it in, covered all the fretboard areas, and I'm just going to let it sit for 20 seconds, half a minute or something like that, and just go over it and generally just rub out the excess. And as I told before, you should oil your fretboards around 2 times a year. Of course, depending on how the fretboard is looking, the condition of the fretboard. I've recently just gone over 3 of my own guitars because I noticed that, or at least to me, I felt that the fretboards were actually looking a little bit dry. Not in a major way or major problem like that, but I just felt alright. I'm just going to oil the fretboards, and I just did the 3 guitars, and the fretboards looks a lot healthier, and the color is a little bit more brownish. So I guess they needed that. So if you have a couple of guitars or 5 guitars, anything like that, just be sure that you remember to oil the fretboards on all of them, and not only your main axe, your gigging axe. So also for the guitars that you have sitting around with strings on, never been played that much, just make sure to check them once in a while. Make sure that everything is alright, and that there's no problem with the guitars. So I've just let this sit, and I can actually see that this fretboard has generally just soaked up a lot of the the lemon oil, so I might apply a second amount here on the fretboard, because of course I might have rubbed some of it in and rubbed some of it off when I did it, making sure that I reached the whole area. But usually there are some residue left, and depending on how well this fretboard has actually been oiled, then if it soaks in, it would be nice to give it a little bit more. So I'm just going to apply a little bit more here on the frets and just rub it in again as I did before, just making sure this time it's a little bit harder to actually spot the areas, but I can still see it. So I'm just going to give this a little more and just rub it in again here and basically just see how it's looking afterwards. So everything should be fine. So no problems there. It's just nice to make sure that the fretboard has taken in the oil that it actually needed. Yeah, it's starting to look very nice. So again, we're just going to let it sit 20 seconds or something like that, and just rub it off, and then I'll just have to install the tuners, which I've just taken off because I had to clean the headstock. And yeah, the owner drops by on Monday, and he has some kind of errand in the in town, so he just drops by a set of string here for me to put on his guitar and set it up lightly while he's in town. So I'm just going to give it a light setup so that he can play it, and when he's ready we can actually start the work later on. So I guess I'm just going to set it up lightly so that he can play it without any buzzing if possible, and just basically set the string height, the pickup height, and check if the neck is straight, or at least where it should be. So I'm going to do a little video about that on Monday when I get this when I get the set of strings, and when I'm ready to begin the work there. So yeah, I'm just going to buff out the lemon oil, and then I'll just let it sit till Monday. So I'll just see you back there again Monday, guys. So have a good weekend, and I'll see you soon.